Hey, so I will call this meeting of Monday, July 24th to order at 6:18 p.m. And I'd like to start in a good way by acknowledging with gratitude that we live and work on the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish Nation, whose people have been stewards of these lands and waters surrounding the Quellahem, Bowen Island. So welcome to the Bowen Island Municipality meeting for July 24th, and thank you for joining, both here in person and online. I'm Andrew Leonard, the Mayor of Bowen Island Municipality and the chair of this meeting. I'd like to start, as I always do, by introducing the other members of Bowen Island's elected council for those folks who haven't been here or are watching us for the first time. And I will start on my far left this time with Councillor John Saunders. To his right, Councillor Tim Wake. To his right, Councillor Alison Morse. To my far right, Councillor Sue Ellen Fast. And to her left, Councillor Judith Getty. Joining us probably a little bit later because he's on the road and traveling in a far-flung part of the province, we have Councillor Alex Jurgensen, who will be on Zoom a little later on. We're also joined by other members of our professional staff. So to my left, we have our corporate officer, Sophie Insigna, and our chief administrative officer, Liam Edwards. We're also joined by other members of our staff who will be presenting reports here tonight. This meeting is being recorded. So as you can probably see on the screen, this part of the screen is being recorded. So, we don't have a gallery view that's being live streamed out to the, the world at large for the tens of thousands of people on our YouTube stream right now. But it is worth noting that when members of the public speak during the public comment and the question and answer period of the meeting, your voice and presence will be recorded for the permanent record. And that is also available at bowenislandmunicipality.ca and can also be reviewed over and over and over again for your delight on our YouTube channel. This council meeting is an official forum for the conducting of the business of local governments. We all love our home. We are all passionate about what happens in our community. I encourage everyone to maintain a constructive and respectful tone during the meeting and to direct comments during the public comment portion of the meeting, as well as the question and answer portion of the meeting at the end to myself. The agenda and full council package for those of us that are joining online, or if you want to check it out and you don't have it printed, can be found at bowenislandmunicipality.ca. And with that said, I'll look to the corporate officer for the addition of any late items.
Yes, there was just one on-table item this evening. Sorry, I hadn't had a chance to circulate it electronically yet because we were in other meetings, but that was one letter in support of the development variance permit application for 1033 Miller Road. And that was a letter received today from David and Aubin Penberkel.
Okay. And for clarity, 1033 Miller Road, that's the Birch project? Okay. So I'll look for a motion that council approve the agenda and on-table items for the July 24th, 2023 regular council meeting. So moved by Councillor Fast, seconded by Councillor Getty. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Aye, that carries unanimously. Moving on to item 2, public comments. How many public comments do we have this evening?
We have 5 people registered this evening.
5 people registered, so we can do 3 minutes per public comment. So when your name is called, whether you're online or here in the house live and in person, we'll start a timer. The timer will go off at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So you don't get cut off right away. You've got that last 15 seconds to really make your case to council or give us an emphatic closing. And if you're here in the room, feel free to take your time and get seated and get comfortable, take a breath. It can be a little bit nervous, being live streamed and here as well. The timer doesn't start until you start speaking. That's same for the folks online. So our first public commenter tonight is
Maggie McDonald.
Maggie McDonald, are you here?
She's going to forego. I'll just do the speaking.
Sure. And what's your name, sir?
Bruce McDonald.
Bruce McDonald. Come on up, Bruce. Grab a seat in front of council here.
Just want to thank Mayor Leonard and council for listening to what I have to say tonight, and it's to do with the Foxglove subdivision and moratorium on the building permits right now. And the group of us, we're just trying to get some voices out there so people understand the plight that we've been going through since the moratorium came on, and we were hoping with the last capacity that got added to the system that we'd get some sort of reprieve from, being stuck with a lot that we can't do anything with. Just gonna say that back in 2016, council gave the subdivision a go-ahead because of the sewer system, and the lots are too small for septic fields. So we're living by a bylaw that we can't live by because the lots are too small to do any sort of septic system. So we're just trying to make our voices heard so we can hopefully get some help from mayor and council on getting a bit of a push to get our foot in the door for the capacity that's being added to the system recently in the upgrades. And just kind of saying that, 2016, when the deal was made between the developer, which is the Snug Cove House, and Bowen Island, there's no way this could have passed if it wasn't for the sewer system. So I just don't know what more I can say. That's just, we're just hoping that, maybe the bylaw could be amended to not include Foxglove. Because again, that's our only option that we have. So, and thank you very much for listening, and hopefully my voice will resonate to some sort of help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Voice does resonate. Very charismatic.
Next, we have Rebecca Ponce-de-Leon.
Hello. Looking forward to my 15 minutes of fame here. So I'm just going to read it because I think I don't want to go into other places. But so my name is Rebecca. I'm together with Diane Kirk, own lot 12 at the Village by the Cove. My husband, Jerry Kirk, and I are longtime residents of Bowen Island for 35 years and have raised our children here. So this is our home, our forever home. We're reaching out to request your assistance in giving us the opportunity to be included in the sewer line. The purchase of our lot was filled with multiple dreams of building our home. All that changed due to the continuous changes of the Snug Cove House by enlarging their property, they're building more and more until literally it was too close to our going to be home. So we took the difficult decision to sell the lot and invest in a better suited land for us on Jason Road, with the intention to use the proceeds of the sale of the land to build our home on Jason. We connected the land to the water sewage, and with multiple obstacles and numerous challenges, we end up doing that. We also installed a septic field, and the hydro is all set up in Jason. Needless to say, we were stunned to hear about the moratorium by our sales agent. The lack of communication by this municipality has left us feeling abandoned. The only suggestion provided was to build a septic field, which is impossible due to the size of our lots. These lots are the only lots in the cove of this size. Without sewer and septic, also the value of our land has totally diminished. So we cannot even, nobody will be interested in buying a lot where you cannot have any sewer. For the past year and a half, we have been forced to live in an expensive apartment here at the square. And like my husband likes to say, we live in a parking lot, with no permanent place to go home. As you can see, our future is tied to this land and we are unable to move forward. Our hope is that you amend the bylaw and let our small lots join the sewer line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Kirk, and I believe Diane is on Zoom.
I am. Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Kirk. We can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm zooming to you from Port Alberni on Vancouver Island. I would like to ask council to provide a solution to the untenable position that I and my family are currently in. We own, as Rebecca said, we own the lot on Foxglove Lane off of Miller Road, and we cannot build. Our lots are just too small to support the septic systems prescribed by the municipality. And we believe that when city staff proposed this bylaw, they did not consider the size of the lots of this development. We have had professionals certified in wastewater management confirm that our lots are not suitable for septic fields. And we have provided council with stamped letters explaining how if we were to install septic fields, they would not meet BC standards and would likely result in environmental hazards. My lot on Foxglove Lane is 32 feet by 92 feet. This is it. And since this is Bowen, I'll use a point of comparison that you might understand in the terms of the ferry lineup. This lot is 2 car lengths wide, 4 car lengths long. Right? And this is bedrock. On top of it, it's carved out of the bedrock, and there is literally no place for the sewage to go. This subdivision was built to the specifications and understanding that it would be connected to a community wastewater system. Previous council approved this subdivision and had the developer invest $400,000 additional dollars into improving the sewer system to support our homes. It is only fair that our connection to the Snow Cove sewer system should be accommodated under the current bylaws, and that we should have open access to this septic system, sewer system, sorry. My family and I have spent the last year looking for a potential solution and have not found any. And we cannot build knowing that there is no wastewater solution, and no one will buy these lots at a fair price knowing that they too cannot build. We didn't buy these lots to sit on them or to speculate with. We bought them to build homes with. This bylaw has meant that I cannot build my forever home on Bowen. I needed a place to live, and so I bought a home in a different island community. One that I did not want. I wanted to live on Bowen. I am sad that I cannot bring my family to Bowen. I cannot live near my father and his family, and I can't be a part of your community, and that really breaks my heart. We're not asking for you to overturn the bylaw, but to amend it, to exclude these micro lots, these one-of-a-kind on Bowen micro lots of a size that cannot support a septic field. We also ask you to take action in a timely fashion. It's been a year and a half, and we need to move forward so that we can either build on the lots or we can sell to someone who wants to build their forever home on Bowen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk.
We have John Reed.
Give me a second. I'm going to call a bit of an audible on this because I know that we have some correspondence from Ms. Kirk that's on the agenda later on in the agenda. Hang on, Ms. Kirk. And so instead of waiting an hour and a half for in a meeting that sometimes isn't always super exciting to get any kind of response from council, public comments are a little bit strange sometimes for folks because you come up and we kind of receive it, and our role isn't to say anything. We're just supposed to take it. Although I know that our CAO was going to speak to the letter a little bit as well as capacity a little bit later on in the agenda. Did you want to make a response now as to sort of where we're at with the sewer system and what the residents can expect?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to the public speakers for sharing your personal positions and your concerns. We definitely appreciate that. And in my time here on Bowen as the CAO for the municipality, this has been probably the toughest decision that I've had to be a part of, implementing this moratorium on new connections to the Snow Cove sewer system. It was not something that was taken lightly by us by any stretch, recognizing the impact that it has on folks like yourselves. So know that it is not something that was done lightly, and it's not something that was done easily at all. We have had numerous conversations with consulting engineers and design engineers about the capacity of the system to be able to accommodate any new connections. And thus far, the clear advice and direction from the engineers has been no, there's no additional capacity for new connections. I did recently convene a meeting with our municipal engineer and our consulting engineers just a week and a half ago to ask them to undertake an additional study to look at if there could be any opportunity to squeeze in the Foxglove Lane lots. And so we did have a quick meeting to look at whether or not there was adequate data to do that kind of assessment. And because initially the responses back were that we needed to wait until the fall and winter rains to be able to understand the true capacity of the system. And but they seem to believe that we would have sufficient data to do the analysis. So that analysis is being undertaken right now. And I anticipate a response back within 3 weeks to be able to report back to council about whether or not there is sufficient capacity to accommodate the Foxglove Lane lots. And I want to be really clear, it's not about the bylaw itself, it's about the capacity of the treatment plant itself. And so if there's capacity at the treatment plant, the bylaw doesn't have to be amended. It's as simple as being able to grant connections to the system. And so I recognize the desire to want to change the bylaw, but the bylaw doesn't need amending. It's literally about the capacity of the treatment plant itself. So I'm hopeful that in 3 weeks' time, we'll have an answer as to whether or not there's sufficient capacity there or not. The federal and provincial regulations around the wastewater treatment plant are pretty strict. And so if their response is that it won't be able to provide sufficient capacity, we'll continue to look at alternatives. It isn't necessarily over at that point, but I'm hopeful that the response will be positive.
Will this be added to the agenda then in 4 weeks' time?
Yeah, so what I will do, because we're kind of outside of process a little bit, is this is going to come up again tonight on item 9.1. So Ms. Kirk, you've got a letter that's in front of council for discussion, and we'll get into the councilors. I'm sure that there's likely some questions that this group around the table has as well. So we'll have the opportunity to ask the CAO and staff about issues related to the Foxglove properties around capacity, as well as timelines of reporting.
Could I say one thing? Because my wife gave me a minute of her time.
Unfortunately not. So that's not how the procedure works. If you want, I could add you to the public speakers list at the end if you'd like. So what I do not want to get into, and what we won't get into,
One comment.
unfortunately not. So we don't do back and forth because it leads to a process of unfolding, and there are other speakers that are waiting as well. I can add you to the end of the speakers list, and you can have a comment then. But for the sake of equity of everybody else in the room, we have a delegation from Sky here waiting as well. So there are.
When is that?
So I can add you. We have two more speakers, then I can add you for a public comment if you like.
Wow.
Yeah.
Two more speakers than you.
Please, I thought you meant at the end of the evening.
No. I would not do that. Okay, so we'll come back to this in 9.1. We will have the one additional comment, but for now, let's get back onto the track of public speakers and knowing that this is an open issue and that we'll be talking about it around this table. So our next speaker is?
Next is John Reed on Zoom.
Okay. Mr. Reed, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, great. We can hear you as well.
Okay, great. I'm providing comment in support of a development variance permit application for 834 Captain's Way. I don't have too much to add from the remarks I made at first reading a month ago. Just to put on the record that the DVP is in service of a renovation to an existing house located in the setbacks, and we've made plans to remove non-conforming elements of certain decks that are currently on and over Crown land. And these adjustments have led to repositioning of an external stair. So we're asking for some additional relaxations on side yard setbacks to accommodate the stair. And we obtained letters from neighbors on both immediate neighbors on either side in support of our proposal. And thank you. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed.
Okay.
Next, we have Jane Gray.
Ms. Gray, are you with us?
Well, if I can say that's my mother-in-law, my comments are in support of her comments as well.
Okay. And Mr. Reed, do you know if she's here this evening?
I think she's going to join at about 7:20 when our agenda item comes up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Jerry, sorry, I don't know your last name.
Kirk, K-I-R-K.
Gary Kirk. Okay, if you want to join us up front now.
Yeah. I'm the father of Diane and the husband of Rebecca. Somewhere there has to be some common sense. In my mind, 35 years living here, and I've been put in a position where I'm not going to live much longer. I'm 85 years old. I need to do this, and I need to do it now. We have lived with your rules and regulations. We purchased this, all services in. There's people on the property that have built and are out there now, and they bought it a year ago. The comment there is the capacity. We don't need capacity. We need permission to build or sell. How long does it take on this community to get permission to build or sell? You sell, you got to find somebody to buy it. They've got to go through the process. Maybe Bruce wants to build, maybe he wants to sell, maybe he wants to leave town because of all this nonsense. This is silly. Capacity, we don't need capacity. We need the ability to make a choice in our lives and what we're going to do now, not when other people decide when. We've played by the rules. This is Canada. We bought under conditions. They've changed. It's time to change them back or allow us to live our lives. This is not fair. This is not a way that it should be. Capacity, we don't need capacity. We need the ability to decide our lives and what we're going to do. Sell, buy, whatever. It's going to take a year and a half, 2 years to take that process. Do you expect us to believe there won't be capacity a year, 2 years from now? I don't want to live this way any longer. It's not fair. I've been on this island for 35 years. Through a friend of mine, I put in a hell of a lot of money into this community as gifts through me. Let me live my life. Let me sell this place. I've got a place on Jason. I spent $13,271 as a gift to this community, a gift to allow me to put in a sewer there that nobody else knew about. I found a way to do it. It's cost me another $10,000 to do it. I paid for everything. This is my home that you won't let me sell. The money that I get from this property builds my forever home for my wife, who's going to live a hell of a lot longer than I am. And I want to do it now. You've got to find some way to do this. You're asking these properties to do something we're incapable of doing. Why are you centering us out in this manner? We're not special. If I got room for a septic field, I build a septic field. I already built one. How many do you want from me? I gave you my $13,000 as a gift. Then I get a bill to pay for water. I don't have water. I have the ability to get it. So I call your department. Why are you charging me this money for water that I don't have? Well, that's the law. You got to pay. Oh, how about taxes on Fox Club? Can you put them on hold? Oh, no, you got to pay them now. That's the law. please allow me to let my wife have a home where she lives on Bowen. We've lived here for 35 years. We're not speculators. We're not coming in trying to make a buck from somebody. We want to live our home. We want to live here. You're stopping me from doing that. You just lost a wonderful community member, my daughter. Capacity. Man, this is going to go away, and I'm going to go home tonight, and I still don't have a place for us to live. I live in a parking lot, which is very expensive. Why? Because there's nowhere else. Where do you want me to go? Put your tent? I got a piece of property. I could put a tent on it. Would you let me do that? I don't think so. Please, let me live my life. I'm a good citizen. I've done lots for this community. All I want to do is continue to be a good citizen and live here my final days. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Cool.
Is the last of the public comments.
Last of the comments. And thank you to the public for showing up. Lots of passion there. There's certainly issues that need to be solved and addressed. Without getting into them, I know that we appreciate you being here. Thank you for coming to share. Looking at the agenda, we will move to the consent agenda. Are there councillors who wish to remove items from the consent agenda? Councillor Getty?
2.13, I've got a question on. That's the change to the time in the September meetings. And 12.5, a letter from Barash Bazari, I'd like to comment on and possibly refer. And there was another letter that was received on Saturday from somebody named Pat Weeks, and I don't see it showing up anywhere on the late items or correspondence. And I'm wondering if
It was in junk.
somehow that could be spoken to.
Right, so it was received after the publishing of the late items agenda, and it's not in relation to anything existing on this agenda. So it would be added to the next one.
Okay.
Did you hear that, June?
It's not, it wasn't.
Can you speak up? Sorry, so it was received after the publishing of the late items agenda, and it's not in relation to any item on this council agenda, so it wasn't added as an on-table item.
Okay, so it has to go to, can it be added to the September?
Yeah.
Please.
Can you tell me our agenda for vote again, please?
3.13 and 12.5. Councillor Saunders?
12.10 is for comment.
12.10. Any other councillors wishing to pull items from the consent agenda? So we will go in, let me scroll down here. In order of the items, starting with 3.13, is changing council meeting schedule in September 2023, and Councillor Getty, there was a question.
Okay, so recommendation is to change September 11th and the 25th to start at 1 p.m. And I was just wondering if that had been decided or if it was for something about, and the next recommendation was receive the information as outlined in section 12 of the July 24th. That's the information items later on.
Yes.
Okay, so have we changed the times? I thought that was still being discussed.
The intention of this, because this is our last meeting until September, was based on the feedback that we got. And when we reviewed it during the agenda planning, it was generally positive. But we also didn't want to throw on the consent agenda that we're going to change the meeting for the entire year. So we just set those first two with the thought that council would then need to have another motion to do all of the other ones if it so chose.
All right.
Yeah, there's still the opportunity for feedback.
All right,
Yeah, so it kind of lets us dip our toe in the water, think about it without committing us to the whole year, and then if it's not working, we have to pull all the way back. Any further, are you willing to make the motion then?
to add that recommendation then to the consent agenda, or in separate motion?
Just needs to be a motion that the regular
Regular
council.
council meeting scheduled on Monday, September the 11th, and Monday, September 25th be changed to start at 1 PM.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Getty, seconded by Councillor Fast. Any discussion on this item?
Just very brief discussion. Reading this yesterday was the first time I was aware of it. Is this something I just missed when I was away? So we're doing this permanently? That's okay. Okay, well, I'll have to think about my thoughts on that. So, okay, but as far as this motion for the first two, yeah.
For the first two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Voted on the consent agenda itself.
No, I just made a note to do that after. Yep. So I'll call the question on this one. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries unanimously. Item 12.5, which is still Councillor Getty, which is the letter from Barash Vaziri regarding follow-up re-request for assured ferry loading date July 9th, 2023.
Mr. Bazzari has WAGs, and he has
which, sorry?
WAGs.
Yeah.
And he has asked BC Ferries, and that was referred to the Transportation Committee in terms of coming up with a policy so that a van that's full of, 3 or more dogs that he cannot take out of the van in terms of leaving some in the van or taking them all at once, that his insurance doesn't cover that, and he can't control that many animals at the same time. And he's left in a situation where, particularly when there's overloads outside the terminal and if they're not underneath, and even if they are underneath in some particularly hot days, then he's got problems in terms of the health of those animals. So he recognizes that it's a long process in terms of working with BC Ferries, but this letter was talking about Bowen Municipality has control over the lineup here, so on this side. So he's wondering if there's some way that if there's people transporting dogs, so there's going to be himself and the dog ranch and possibly some horse owners, if there was a category of livestock on particularly hot days, if they could be given a permit, if they can, get that in time, or somehow or other an allowance made in that kind of a situation by the bylaw enforcement. So sometimes he can get into places up the hill that have shade, but there's other times when there's overloads and he's got a van full of animals and he's concerned about them overheating. So it's hot weather and not being able to get the animals out of a heated van. So I'm not sure who to refer this to, whether it's
Bylaw enforcement.
staff in terms of bylaw or
Staff and Transportation Committee for comment. Any thoughts to the CIO?
Well, staff could look at it. I mean, the only other assured loading that's provided is for medical assurance loading. So I think staff could look at it, the Transportation Advisory Committee could look at it.
okay, can I make a referral to staff and the Transportation Advisory Committee?
For information, comment, or recommendation?
Comment, please.
For comment, okay,
And comment and recommendation.
okay. So it's been moved by Councillor Getty. Is there a seconder for that motion? Seconded by Councillor Wake. Any discussion? Councillor Fast?
Thank you, Mayor Leonard. I'm very sympathetic about this because heat stress can kill. And whether that's dogs or horses that can't really get out, they're trapped in the vehicles. the issue I'm thinking about is we've got cooling centers set up, if there is a heat dome again in the library and probably some other places too, the new community center when it's ready maybe. And, but it's very difficult for people with animals to, obviously they can't use those facilities. I'm just wondering, I'm hoping that they can adjust their schedules to be able to avoid the hottest parts of the day, but I wonder what else they can do, because I think there's only the one medical assured loading space, isn't that correct, or one or two? Does anybody know?
5.
Room for several?
Yeah.
See, I just see it, it's such a slippery slope thing. There's all kinds of people with all kinds of reasons why they should have assured loading. And I just hope we can find some solutions, because there's more heat and not enough shade. So I look forward to the recommendations.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion to refer to staff and to BIMTech? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. That carries unanimously. And then Councillor Saunders on item 12.10, which is the series of letters from Mr. Nielsen regarding ferry performance.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge the series of letters from Mr. Nielsen about ferry performance. I look forward to them every morning. I enjoy the macabre type of humor that I'm seeing from that. And everybody on this island knows how bad or how unreliable this ferry service is. And I really like that somebody's taking the trouble to highlight and detail it for us. And I'm genuinely saying that. I'm not being sarcastic at all. And I know probably in future meetings with BC Ferries, which apparently some are imminent, perhaps just referring these letters to that, or just commenting on the letters to BC Ferries. I know Mr. Nielsen sends them to them as well, but if we kind of, nudge them along a little bit, it wouldn't be a bad thing either in an informal way. In any event, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Nielsen for taking the trouble to do. I know it's not a ton of trouble, but he's doing it, and I enjoy reading.
Thank you for that. The comment that I'll make, and I let council know prior to the meeting, is that I just booked a meeting with the CEO of BC Ferries, Nicholas Jimenez. He'll be coming to Bowen Island next Friday for a couple hours to spend some time with me, and I plan to show him the infrastructure in Snug Cove, some of our land use. Hopefully he'll be able to see some area lineups and discuss possibilities such as assured loading, such as leasing of the road easement, better costing and BC Ferries responsibility for costing around ferry marshalling. So there's a number of issues that we'll be talking to Mr. Jimenez about. But I do appreciate the letters from Mr. Nielsen, because those will provide me some talking points that I will be able to bring to him as well. With that, I'll make a motion to receive the letters in 12.10 for information. Second by Councillor Fast. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye, that carries unanimously. So those are all the items that were pulled from the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to adopt the rest of the items that were contained in the consent agenda? So moved by Councillor Fast, seconded by Councillor Getty. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. That carries unanimously. Okay, I'm getting myself back in. Here we are at item 5. It's an item I'm particularly excited about. We have a delegation from Seniors Keeping Young. How many of you folks will be coming up to present? 2? Okay. Councillor Fast, would you be able to just grab the chair?
I'll stand, please.
Would you like to stand? Absolutely. Yeah.
Sure. Because I can pull up the chair.
If I sit, I'll back up.
Okay.
My knees don't work that well these days. Good evening, Mayor and councillors. You met me 2 weeks ago on the chair of Seniors Keeping Young, the acronym being SKY, which we tend to use more than Seniors Keeping Young.
I sent the presentation to you beforehand, and I don't know whether you all read it, but I hope you did, because I wanted to save some time. If there are any flaws in it, we'll blame it on Stats Canada, because in it I used a lot of research from Statistics Canada. We will be filling out an expression of interest request. The reason that we sent this in, and there might be flaws, is that we were in a rush to get it in because we were under the impression we had to get it in by the 24th. So we rushed to do it in advance. So I hope you'll take that into consideration and not be too critical. We also wanted to inform you about some of the activities of SKY, and also to underscore the need for a seniors gathering place, which is supported by, or has been supported by, various municipalities over the years. And it's supported by more recent municipal councils, and the reports are on the Muni website, and I can list them for the audience. One is Bowen Island Community Health Profile 2017, and the Age-Friendly Community Report to Council, that is Appendix C of the Bowen Island Transportation Plan 2018 to 2038. SKY has, we're there? Okay, about SKY. SKY has been active on Bowen Island for 30 years, but it's obviously been hiding its light under a bushel because nobody seems to know what we've been doing and how well we've been doing it. So we're trying to let you know about that in this presentation as support for obtaining part of the cottage on the Heritage Cottage on Cardina Way. Currently, we have 80 on our membership, and people who are 55 and better can join the SKY. Don't have to be 83 like I am. Actually, Brenda and I are representative of the diversity in SKY. She's closer to the 55 line and is still working. She's one of those members, and I'm, as I said, 83 years old and leisurely retired. Now, our request is to allocate the facility for the seniors' place. And I can't read that, and I'm not sure any of you can read that on the screen. Is it large enough?
We have it on these things.
Okay, so you all have it. Yeah. Because I've got my notes and I'm organized with my tiny little pictures. Thank you very much. Okay, we want a storefront space, and the blue cottage seems to fit that, where seniors can conveniently drop in on weekdays for social interactions and connections to walk, and we want something that is transit convenient, where seniors can share information about programs and supports, where seniors can register in person or by phone for activities and events, and where seniors would have a home base for supplies, telephone, computer, printer, internet, documentation, records, and retention. Seniors could use this dedicated space in person daily. So we want a space to fulfill our vision of seniors helping seniors. I'll stick with this, okay. Thank you very much. Our community partnership, that's the next item up there, I think. And yes, it is. Okay, we've been involved with the community for the last year and a half. Most of our activities have been partnered with the library, the museum, and other organizations. Oh, I should mention Bowen Court. We've been using their facilities. I want to mention that monthly luncheons are also providing income to local restaurants. So we are engaged in the community. Our provincial affiliations, that's the next slide. We're a member of the Council of Senior Citizens Organizations of BC. We just joined that in the last year since COVID, and we're getting involved in other provincial organizations too. I did send out a report that the council, and it's called Costco, by the way, and everybody on the board got really excited because it sounds so much like Costco, and they said, can we get free food or at least reduce prices in food? But that's not the case. It's a different type of Costco. Anyway, I sent you out a report, and it's on the independent senior centers in the Metro Vancouver region. And probably you didn't get a chance to read it because I imagine you have stacks and stacks of things to read. But if you will read it eventually, it certainly confirms the vital role that senior spaces play within the metropolitan community. Okay, the next one, I have some data about senior spaces in BC. I'll skip over that because I think that you can probably read it from where you are. And it's just a list of other senior centers in towns of like sizes. Okay, this is the exciting part. You said you didn't have an exciting meeting. Well, I think this is exciting. It's the statistics that we have. And I had wanted to use those statistics to show how the population changes have impacted seniors. And so on point 1 up there, according to Statistics Canada, the data indicates the rate of growth of seniors over the age of 65 is increasing roughly from 1/8 of the population in 2006 to 1/4 of the population in 2020. And that is a rate of 100%. But an overall increase in 200%. And we can talk about that later if you're confused about the numbers. Some people are. Point 2, 1,060 residents are 50 to 65, 705 of which are 55 to 64 years old, which totals 1,775 residents who meet the requirements of being 55 and better, and could conceivably benefit from SKY and the programs we offer. Point 3 is self-explanatory up there. Point 4, 1,040 residents out of a total of 1,725 properties are paying property tax. 60% of the property tax contributors are coming from those over the age of 55. And that's a general estimate and does not really reflect the varying nature of individual contributions, but as a whole in that age category. Point number 5 up there is self-explanatory. And one of the things that we have been noticing is that multi-generational households are drawing both younger and older newcomers to the island, since generational support is becoming more necessary. It is vital in this day and age as, the boomer generation ages. So it makes economic sense for either parents to move in to their children's houses or vice versa. Okay, so the graphs. Oh my goodness, 5 minutes left. May I use, Your Honor, may I use the 5-minute question period as part of the 10-minute?
Sure.
Oh, okay. So thank you. This, because I get carried away by the statistics. Okay, the next is a graph which shows the rate of increase between 2016 and 2020 of these age groups, and the age groups are listed on the side. The x-axis shows the population change, the percentage, and the y-axis, the broad age categories. So age evolution suggests that a substantial portion of that graph in the category age 15 to 64 would fall within Sky's purview, because those that were 55 to 64 in 2020 are probably 3 to 4 years older. So the next slide is a summary in graphic form of what I've already detailed, and it shows over a 5-year period the population trended away from children and young adults to one with a greater number of seniors. My favorite slide is the age-friendly principles which were affirmed by Sky on Bowen. And those age-friendly principles were originally promoted by the World Health Organization decades ago. And Age-Friendly BC is an established policy or initiative, and Bowen Municipality subscribes to that initiative. Bowen was given just under $20,000 in 2011, I think, for participating in Age-Friendly BC. I'm not sure whether there's been any subsequent funding on the basis of being age-friendly in Bowen. But I haven't been able to find that data. Okay, this is that. Can you sort of go back to that slide, the age-friendly BC one? Okay, what it says, and I find it very interesting, the age-friendly achievements, and this was put out after 2009, and the government of BC released this, that Bowen Island provided BC Ferries with an age-friendly community project report highlighting the issues of emergency evacuation and elevator access. It also improved the sidewalks in the village. And this is for seniors, mind you. It expanded the municipal sewer system to enable the development of seniors supportive housing, which didn't happen. And it provided planning and was developing a community center with seniors' needs in mind. And that unfortunately didn't happen. And then also we got put in the official community plan, the OCP. Which leads me to say, we really are quite desperate at this point, since this has been going on since 2009, to have a space. Bowen Island, got lost here. So the new community center does not include seniors at all. There's no no room for seniors. Ironically, in this week's undercurrent, the poll question was, how old are you? I don't know whether any of you answered it, but I answered those poll questions. And when I was reading over the answers on Sunday, the largest percentage of responses came from those who were over 70. And so that, I know there's no scientific basis on, for these polls. However, they just show a little indication of what's happening within the community. Okay, so back to our programs. Our achievements in 2022, 2023, again, SKY's programming is aimed at a senior population on Bowen, but we've tried to engage all age groups in the community. And again, I know you've all got individual copies of those slides, but again, this is what we've done. Membership is increasing in SKY because we're providing a cost-effective method of offering physical and mental and health wellness activities. And we're doing so with no place to congregate. Our activities and events planned for 2023, 2024, again, you can read those. They're straightforward. As listed in our tentative planning program, we're providing an opportunity to improve the quality of life of seniors on Bowen now and in the future. So we're important. Our challenges, and it would, if we can read that out, I think you can see it. You can read it. I can see it. So I'm not going to insult you by making you read it right now. But our intentions and vision, I would really like to read that out, and that's the last slide. And seniors on Bowen Island would benefit from having a seniors location. We're dubbing it a seniors place, but we're playing around with the name right now, without incurring BIM's salary costs to deliver programs, because we offer our own programs and are not expecting the community to provide them for seniors. Space could be used to support 41.7 of our island's population, namely residents who are over 55 and better. And we have a different statistic there from Statistics Canada. And SKY would utilize the space Monday to Friday for drop-in and weekend meeting use. SKY members would benefit from having the grassed area behind the Blue Cottage for use in outdoor games or social gatherings. We just had a very nice tea honoring seniors on the museum lawn, but you can't use the museum lawn all the time, so it would be nice to have our own. We could play bocce or have tea under umbrellas on the grass. A permanent location would allow more seniors access to information and be able to participate in community issues. We've been looking for space since September 2022, when our new board was elected. So we'll definitely be filling out the expression of interest for the cottage. But if you come up with any better offers, we would be pleased to entertain them. So thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Do you have any questions?
Okay, I'll look to council if there are any questions or comments.
Thank you for the presentation.
Oh, you're welcome.
I really appreciate the presentation, as well as the attention to detail on the demographics that are changing on Bowen Island. Councillor Getty forwarded me some statistics from the Islands Trust where they were looking into the growing seniors population on the island generally, which is a trend that we're seeing. And I've known that Sky has done a lot. There's always, I see little Facebook pieces and little ads here and there that Sky does, but to see it all listed in one place, wow, you folks do a lot.
Thank you. May I digress, Mr. Mayor? I've been thinking a lot about planning since we've been working, and it wasn't just me working on this report. I have an absolutely fantastic board, and so I'm really lucky. But the thing about planning is that what's been happening over the course of the years is that the planners see a need and they plan for that need right now, and because they're not anticipating what may happen down the road. But things are changing in a blink of the eye. I mean, things are moving so fast, and those statistics prove it. So there should be some way that planners can sort of work towards the future rather than planning for, the problems of today. Maybe planners think of that, but I see that as a limitation in what I've been reading and sort of what's happened on Bowen in terms of plans.
Councillor Summers?
It's just like, that's a really astute comment because we're getting older. I mean, I know I'm older than a lot of you, but we're getting older. We're going to be relying on this soon. So thanks for pointing that out.
Thanks, 7 years ahead.
I'm not quite at that 55 break, but if there's anything that I can participate in or you'd like to invite me to or that I can be involved in, feel free to reach
We
out.
do offer programs that are open to the community, and we're doing that deliberately.
Even to youngsters?
Yeah, well, we're in the the grandparents, what is that program? Grandparents, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, I believe we have Catherine Thompson, sorry, as scrolling as a delegation here, scrolling through my agenda.
That was a great presentation. So much.
Hi, Ms. Thompson.
I'm Catherine, and I'm a delegation, apparently. I feel so important. And I've only come here to say a few things. And it's funny how nervous I am. I speak for a living in front of large groups, but this intimate group of all of you, you mean a lot to me. And I guess that's why I'm here. So there's three things. One is thank you so much, Allison. Really, truly thank you for signing up for this and for serving on our council and doing all of the work that you do. I know that you have, you do way more than is seen by the public, by me. I know that there's a lot of challenges that you've been facing as you navigate some of the changes on the island. And I meant to say, Andrew, I was looking across at you, I'm sorry. I wanted to make eye contact with you and also thank you deeply for your leadership on this council. I know that all of you signed up for service, but probably way more than you bargained for. I know that. So thank you. That's like, the word is out that this is a really high functioning council. You're doing great work. You're steering us in a good way. People talk, the talk is really good, and I want you to know that. Because I think often what you hear is when people are disgruntled or not happy. And I'm representing like most of the island that's really happy. Even if they're unhappy about certain things, they're very happy with the work that you're doing. So I just really deeply appreciate that. And I also want to thank your spouses, your partners, the people in your social circles, because they're giving up time with you so that you can serve us. So I wanted to say that. So that's the most important thing. I got that off my chest. That was the most important thing. The other thing I've been reflecting on and thinking about is just how communities, how they think together, how they decide together, how they engage with each other. And I know that there are a lot of changes happening on Bowen, whether those changes are like campsites or temporary use permits or development permits or zoning, applications. Those things represent change. And in the work that I do, I facilitate groups, in communities and organizations all over BC. But that's what I do. And my job is really to bring people together to help them think well together and across their diverse perspectives, across their differences, across their, different needs and hopes and fears and concerns. And one of the things that I noticed, and of course, the issues that you're facing are so complex right now. And each of you, brings tremendous strength and perspective to the conversations you have at this table. And I know that you're really committed to doing more work around engagement. And so that's my point number 2. I'm so conscious of your time, and I want to go fast, but I also want to say these things. But the issue around bringing people together and helping people think together, to be collaborative, to engage with each other across difference, is that there are certain circumstances that trigger a kind of a survival response in people's brains. And so, for example, so the survival response is great. It's that amygdala, that limbic part of our brain that exists to keep us alive. And so we go into kind of like when we're physically threatened, we go into this kind of like fight or flight response. And it's very, it's a good thing to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I felt so badly talking to. Oh, okay. All right. So it's good for physical survival. The thing is that when we're presented with certain threats, social threats, our body reacts the same way. So the amygdala goes into the same fight or flight or freeze response. And what happens is people don't do their best thinking anymore. And I feel like I kind of witnessed some of that earlier on a few months ago as the Metro Vancouver and the campsite, there's other issues, could be any change issue really. But as those things ramp up, I notice people going into this kind of a reflexive, either a combative response or a defensive response. And it's because their frontal cortex is no longer engaged and their limbic brain is fully engaged. And so they're not offering you or each other the best of their thinking because their frontal cortex is offline. Their limbic brain is online. So you're getting the reactive kind of responses from people. So there are there's a whole bunch of social threats, but the main ones I want to talk about are uncertainty, autonomy. I can listen to the gentleman that was here earlier and, let me live my life, let me have my home. These are, that need for autonomy is so strong, the need for fairness. And when those things feel threatened, we react as if our lives are a threat, even though they're not. So the other thing that happens, and this is the thing that I worry about you sometimes. I know you're doing really good work, and I don't want people I want you to feel like you've got all the support in the world. But what happens is when people, so let's talk about uncertainty. How is that, new development permit going to affect me? How is this new change, this new building, this new structure, this new whatever going to affect me? And I go into that survival response. I'm not seeing all of the information that's out there that's available to me anymore. I'm getting bits of the story, bits of data, bits of information. And those pieces of information, I'm gonna connect the dots in a way that makes sense to me. And when I do that, I'm making up a story that may be accurate, but it might not be. And sometimes the stories that I make up in that survival sort of response. And when I talk about survival, I'm talking about the limbic brain sort of going into full gear. And when we're really that activated, and sometimes I feel like as a community, we do get that activated. And we're no longer thinking with the intelligence of our frontal cortex. We're no longer able to get creative, to get curious, to really reach out to one another because we kind of go into that fun curve combat mentality. But what also happens is we're selecting out pieces of information, data, making up a story, and then kind of finding others to kind of that share that story with us. And then we project that story out, into the world, into our community, or, into the larger community. And sometimes that story gets projected onto you, who are doing the very best you can with the information that you have. You also get triggered. I mean, we all do. It's a human thing. And I just want to name it. I want to name it as something that happens. Judy, I really, really appreciate your circles, your Saturday circles. And the ways that all of you, in one way or the other, are reaching out to other people to kind of convene conversations. Because when we see each other face to face, it's harder to sustain that story, that narrative, But we do it because we're feeling threatened. So full-on compassion for all of us as human beings trying to find solutions in this world, and they're really complex. The thing that I feel is the antidote is, one of the antidotes is, of course, to bring people together, to convene as much as you can. And I'd be happy. I'm not normally this nervous. I don't know if it's showing, but my heart is pounding. It's amazing. I can't believe how nervous I am. I guess this means a lot to me. So I would be happy to be a resource for you in any way I can. So that's one thing I wanted to say. The other is that when you receive letters or, sonograms or snarky comments or whatever from folks, and they're saying no to whatever, this is, and all you hear is that kind of a negative, just know, and I do believe this with all my heart from all the 30 years I've been doing and facilitating groups, that negativity, that letter also has a deeply positive intent. Just as all of you are, standing here because you're sitting here because you have a deeply positive intent. And sometimes people can't articulate it. So they're saying no to whatever this thing is, but they're also saying yes to, they're saying yes to connection, to security, to some sense of certainty, to knowing, what the path is, bringing for us. And if you're able to kind of support people, like both by you saying, this is what we stand for, these are our values, this is what matters, this is why we're doing this, this is why we're having this conversation, or, putting out this as a possibility, and then really helping people to rethink or rearticulate, so I don't want that, but this is what I do want. And I know that you're here because one of your values, one of the things that you're here for is service. And I do not want you to burn yourselves out in serving this community. That is one thing for sure. But I do want you to remember the values that brought you to here and really hold on to those. Remind each other of why you're here. And really please ask for support from the community for whatever conversations or whatever process you need to engage in, so that we start making up stories about each other. We start creating a new story. Okay, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and just thank you for really, you're doing awesome. You are doing awesome. That's all.
Questions or comments from council?
Yeah.
Councilor Saunders?
So full disclosure, Catherine's my neighbor and I consider her a good friend as well. We've had this discussion a lot and it's pulled me back from the ledge a couple of times, to be honest with you. And I think you know the times. So in any event, I think this is a wonderful resource that we, may need at some point, and I think we should just keep it in mind. So thanks for coming and sharing that with us.
Keep the delegation in mind. Yeah. I'm really, yes.
Any other questions or comments from council? Councilor Fast?
Just thanks for the offer. And I appreciate the ideas here. I'm going, maybe you want to send a few reading notes.
I would love to.
Yeah, I would like to.
There's so much. I would love to. Just about how the brain works, and why we do what we do and how do we get out of this. Yeah, so much more. Okay, have a lovely evening. Sophie, it's nice to meet you. And lovely to meet you. Yeah.
Thanks.
And your staff also, you're just doing such good work. I need to sit down.
You can come back every meeting and tell us how great we are.
Is this rude if I leave? I'm gonna sink her a little bit, but then.
No, you are
Is that all right?
Yes.
free to do as you like.
As long
as you want.
And leave you, but. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. So moving on to item 6, business arising from the minutes. We can make up a little bit of time on these next 2 items. The first is consideration of application for development variance permit for 1033 Miller Road or Birch. And we have Daniel Martin, our manager of planning and development. What we will do, I think, is rely heavily on, just because we are dragging a bit for time, we'll rely heavily on the staff report that's contained. I think it was written excellent. Mr. Martin, if you want to comment on any changes to letters that were received or any changes to the initial application, we could do that and then look to get a recommendation on the table.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's no changes to the permit from what was presented at the introduction in June. We did receive additional letters that are in the late items or the on table today. Yeah.
Okay, Council. Any questions for the planner, Council? Councilor Getty?
Did the comments from the fire department get included in this permit?
Yes, they're included in the permit and condition.
Any other further questions for the planner, or is the disposition to make a motion? Councilor Fast?
Yeah, just, I missed that about the fire part. Where is it in the permit and what does it say?
It's one of the conditions on the variance permit, and it's the condition that the building not have a height above a certain distance from the grade to the exit from the upper floors, or that the applicant propose an alternate solution acceptable.
Oh, right, okay, I remember talking about that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll be happy to move the motion.
Okay.
Because I'm in support of the project as we discussed at the previous meeting. I would like to move that council issue development variance permit DVP 2023-0082 for the variance of parking and height for 1033 Miller Road, legally described as Lot 3, District Lot 490, Group 1, New Westminster District Plans, EPP 98055, PID 031247652.
Moved by Councilor Fast, seconded by Councilor Wake. Any discussion on the motion as read? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously. And by unanimous consent, unless there's objection, we will receive the letters from the public in item 6.1A. Seeing no objection, that carries unanimously. Moving on to item 6.2, consideration of application for development variance permit DVP 2022-0226 for 834 Captain's Way. And I'll look back to our planner again for any material changes to the application.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no changes to this permit since we introduced it in June, and we've received no additional letters through this notice period. So we've just received the 2 letters from immediate neighbors who support the variance.
Okay. Any questions for the planner from council? Seeing none, I'll look for a Councilor Getty. Yes.
The council issued development variance permit DVP 2022-0226 for the variance of side, rear, and C setbacks for 834 Captain's Way, legally described as Lot C, Block C, District Lot 3042, Plan 14029, PID 007956886.
Moved by Councilor Getty, seconded by Councilor Saunders. Any discussion on the motion as read? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. That carries unanimously. Bylaws were dealt with in the consent agenda. Moving on to section 8.1, introduction and referral from the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch for 810 Beach Drive, which is the Bowen Golf Course. And this is new, so I'll turn it over to Mr. Martin to give us a briefing on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the Bowen Island municipality has received a referral from the LCRB. It's a category they call structural change, increased capacity is the category of referral they make. And this relates to the Bowen Island Golf Course and their construction of their performance center. And the location roughly indicated on this map. So the Bowen Island Golf Course has an existing liquor license that was issued, I believe, in 2011. But their license excludes the driving range and putting green areas of the course. So the entire golf course is included in the liquor license, but excludes this specific area. And the golf course is currently building the performance center and is seeking to expand their liquor license to include this area with a capacity of 25 people. The hours would be unchanged. So the current liquor license hours are from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. and they would be unchanged in this application. We received this application. We conducted some initial notice. So notice to neighbors, signs on the property, notice in the newspaper. We've received 3 letters of support that are in the application. And then in order for council to provide a response to the liquor board, they have requirements in terms of if the local government wants to provide comment that we need to canvass the views of neighbors in the community and then make a formal motion to respond. So that's the recommendation today, is to issue that notice following our policy to give 30 days notice in advance for neighbors. So we'll be coming back in September 11th. The alternative would be for council to opt not to provide comment, at which point the LCRB would conduct their own public consultation. So that's the recommendation that's in the agenda. Thank you.
Questions for the planner? Starting with Councillor Fast.
Thank you. Whoops. My question is just, can you remind me, because it's been 17 years or whatever, who operates the golf course? Like, is it a board? Is it a charity? And did they apply for the building permits for this too? Or is this, those are my questions.
Through the chair, they've applied and received building permit for the performance center, I believe last summer, but I recall, issuing the permit. And it's the Bowen Island Golf Course, and I'm not actually sure in terms of its structure.
It's a board.
Is it a board? Okay, thank you.
It's a society, registered society, not-for-profit society.
Yeah, run by a board though.
Councillor Wick.
I'd like to make the motion.
Sure.
That notice be given that council will be considering a liquor license referral, structural change with increased in capacity for bowling golf course at 810 Beach Drive, legally described as Lot 5, District Lot 1411, Group 1, New Westminster District Plan BCP 16187, PID 026261596. September 11th, 2023 meeting of council. And further, that council authorized staff to give public notice for the consideration of approval of liquor license referral, structural change with increased capacity application for Bowen Island Golf Course in accordance with Liquor Control and Licensing Act to all properties within 100 meters of the legal boundary of 810 Beach Drive, legally described as Lot 5, District Lot 1411, Group 1, New Westminster District Plan 16, BCP 16187, PID 026261596, and the council refer the liquor license referral, structural change with increased capacity for Bowen Island Golf Course at 810 Beach Drive to the RCMP.
Moved by Councillor Wake.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Morse. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Getty.
Sometimes we've increased the distance from 100 to 300 meters based on large lots. And I'm just wondering, Bayview Heights, and it looks like Ocean Park Estates, when I look at the other map that's got the handwritten circles and arrows and whatever at the very end of the permit. And on the pink and peachy colored map, there's some empty lots down below Ocean View Estates, I think it is. Down below the blocked out part that's pink. Are those people going to be affected at all, do you think, in terms of possible noise? Should we expand?
Through the chair, I would think it's unlikely in that they're quite a distance and quite a downhill slope. I mean, when we were assessing it, we judged the properties most likely are the ones immediately north of that site. So the Fairview Fairway Lane and Blue Sky Circle, I believe, those two subdivisions. But I think those southern properties are quite a distance because 100 meters from the edge of the property. And because the location of the performance center is sort of in the middle of the lot, it's quite an extensive radius.
If I may. So, and the floor plan is, and the way it's been described to me by some of the supporters of this is that it's mostly indoors and it's electronic screens and such. But is there an outside patio part of this?
The liquor license itself would extend to sort of the outdoor trading area as well. Yes.
That's fast.
Yeah, I had one more question. It's in part of the report, it's called, it refers to the previous driving range. And then I see on the plan here that there's a driving range deck. So there's still going to be a driving range that's part of this application? Is that, I don't know anything about golf or training centers.
Through the chair, I believe that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to tour it ahead of this application and my take on the building, and I'll look to Mr. Russell in the audience to, shake his head if I say anything completely incorrect, is that there's the indoor facility and then the deck area is actually a driving range that hits into a net.
Oh, okay.
So there's not like an outdoor patio per se, it's part of the training facility itself. So they've got the indoor sort of, super tech golf VR piece. And then the outdoor deck is has the driving range of some screens.
Okay, so that's what driving range with hitting net means?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it's a beautiful facility. It's really shaping up to be nice. Any further questions or debate on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. And then just housekeeping items. So by unanimous consent, unless there's any objection, we'll receive the letters in 8.1A. Seeing no objection, those are received by unanimous consent. And then moving on to item 8.2, which is our CAO update.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. I don't have a lot of new updates regarding capital projects on the various capital initiatives underway other than the community center itself. So we're hoping to pour the last bit of concrete for the interior slab in the basement. So we're hoping that will be happening next week or soon, which will really help ensure the project can remain on schedule so that other elements of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing can carry on. And the building is almost 100% waterproof. We're still waiting for some skylight fixtures, which will be the final enclosures on the rooftop and a couple other vapor barrier pieces there. But otherwise, things are tracking fairly well. The project contractors, though, did identify that due to earlier challenges with the project, that their scheduled completion date has been pushed to mid-November. And so from mid-October to mid-November. And so we're talking with them about trying to reduce any further delays or slippage, but we'll see how that continues to unfold. And moving beyond capital projects, I did want to just make a note about the welcome rain today, which is great for all of our very parched land. However, I do want to just share with the community, for all those thousands of people listening, that it's not sufficient to really saturate the soils or to really put a damper on any of the fire risks out there, and that drought conditions are at some of the highest levels that we've seen for this time of year in the province, across the entire province. And so while the rain is very welcome, the volume isn't sufficient to really satisfy the needs for forest fire management or fire reduction and other water needs that we have. So just wanted to get that out there in the public realm. That's it for my update.
Fires are still banned.
Fires are still banned, likely will be for the rest of the summer.
Thank you. Any questions for the CAO? Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Moving on to item 9.1, correspondence, Diane Kirk regarding amendment to sewer bylaw dated July 14th, 2023. So this is in regards to the issue that was spoken about in public comments. Do councillors have any questions or concerns or comments about the correspondence so far?
Are we going to move the motion that's?
Yep, we could move the recommendation.
I'll move that council direct staff to review the correspondence from Diane Kirk and report back to council at the September 11th, 2023 council meeting.
Seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any discussion on this?
I'm just curious to what exactly review, and we've all read the letter, review and report back. I'm not sure what our expectation is here. And I suppose there isn't an answer yet until you do a review, but
Well, for me, I would, I'm looking forward to being able to report back on the consultant's findings. And I'm hopeful for a positive response.
I'm sure we all are. Is there a plan B, or can there even be a plan B? Because if the consultants come back,
so
it's hard not to have a whole lot of sympathy for the what's been raised here.
Well, I have tremendous sympathy.
I know.
And I've been pretty clear with our director of engineering that if the response from the consultants is negative, that I would be looking for a third-party assessment of their analysis.
Okay.
So I'd be looking to discuss financing that third-party analysis with our CFO, because we don't have budget and the sewer area has very limited budget and very limited reserves to be able to finance that. So we'll be looking at how we could finance third-party assessment of the consultants.
Thank you.
Should it be needed?
Yeah, should it be needed.
Councillor Getty?
Is there space aside for Snug Cove House to have a septic?
Yes.
Is that sort of at the very end of lot 2, past Foxglove?
On our land, isn't it?
Yes, so if we think of where Snug Cove House was or is to be built in the vacant lot.
Yes.
There's a very thin strip, which was a road access to the back of what we call lot 2. You can see it on that little leg. And we did identify an area in there that was confirmed by a septic specialist that could be accommodated for.
So the top of a cliff and it would need lots of pumps?
Yes, and the lots within Foxglove Lane have all been serviced with sewer connection pipes. And so there would have to be reconfiguration. There's a lift station on Miller Road at the bottom of Foxglove Lane, which would pump any and all sewage along Miller Road up to Trunk Road. So there'd have to be a reconfiguration of that piping work to try to then service those lots. And I'm not sure if the number of units for the Foxglove, the remaining Foxglove properties would be equivalent to the proposed number of units within the Snugcova house.
Okay, well, that's for staff to figure out and report back on September the 11th.
That's not actually part of the September 11th.
Well, we'll get there after we get the consultant's report.
The September 11th report back is about the capacity within the sewer treatment plant. Phase 1 of the capacity upgrades did not account for Foxglove. It was never contemplated that it would be able to accommodate Foxglove. But what we're hopeful for is that with the additional work that we did in fixing some of the leaks in the system, which called the inflow and infiltration, that there will be sufficient capacity. So the fingers crossed.
There was another lot, was there not, up on, where is it? Yeah, that didn't have septic. It was on Bedrock as well. Wasn't there another one up there?
There were 5 other properties on Rivendell and
one of them.
Elrond Court. And so I think in total there were 8 other lots up in top of Kate's Hill that were also put on the moratorium as well.
Thanks.
Councilor Morse?
A couple of things. Could those lots get a building permit and start building, but not get an occupancy permit? I think was there not something?
There's a provision that would allow for it would be a covenant on the property that would allow for them to build without achieving occupancy.
So do they understand that? So that kind of thing would be looked at in the report.
Some of the property owners did approach us and some did enter into that kind of an agreement.
Yeah.
With us.
Okay, so it's out there.
It is out there. It is.
Yeah. And then I guess the other is, as part of the data analysis, you'll be comparing the water used by the properties. It would have been nice to do that in the winter months because, people didn't start watering until May. So comparing the amount of water consumed to the amount of sewer of septic that's been treated and goes out the outflow.
Didn't.
Sorry?
Well, you know how much water those people use up in Kate's Hill, all the properties that are connected to the sewer.
Yeah.
So I would assume somebody reconciles water consumption meter readings to what gets processed and goes in through the new inflow meter into the system.
Yes.
Yeah. And it would have been nice to have been able to do that with the data, maybe up to the beginning of May, like March, April, May, February, March, April, because people aren't watering outside gardens then. So their water use is just going to be their internal use that is what goes through the sewer system. So is that?
For the most part.
Yeah.
So none of the residential properties have secondary meters that just meter their actual indoor use. But for the most part, the winter consumption is the indoor consumption.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, that's part of the data analysis.
Then that will be part of the data analysis.
Yeah.
Part of the question. And the other question, I guess, is the data publicly available?
I don't know.
I mean, it used to be that I thought the outflow data was publicly available, but I didn't in a quick look see anything, so.
Yeah, I don't know that.
So it sounds like from what we discussed earlier in the meeting that the results are about 3 weeks out.
Yes.
And so if there is capacity, well, actually, let me back up, test a couple of my assumptions first. Are the Foxglove properties a priority to have connected to the sewer, given the inability to have septic, or are those factors similar to what's left on properties up in Kaysville?
Foxglove would be the next priority.
Foxglove would be next priority, okay. And so if there is capacity, is there a need? Does council need to approve anything, or if in 3 weeks, because we'll be on a break until the 11th, would those property owners just get notified? And
yes.
Okay.
So the council does not need to approve anything. There's no amendments to the bylaws required. If there is capacity, staff can grant those properties to advance with building permit applications. And the director of engineering has the ability to approve the connections to the sewer system or reject them based on insufficient capacity.
Right, okay. In terms of property value, are those lots still valued like they are connected to sewer and buildable, or are they, like how does BC assessment see those lots right now?
I don't know what BC Assessments has placed on those properties, and that's something that the individual property owners can take up with BC Assessment in terms of challenging the assessed values.
Right. Okay.
That has to be done by, I believe it's July of the assessment year.
Okay. So that's not a piece that the municipality holds power over. Okay. Any further questions? So the recommendation is that council direct staff to review the correspondence from Diane Kirk and report back to council at the September 11th, 2023 council meeting. The mover for that.
You've got Alison Morse and John Saunders.
Great. This is running to like hour 4 or 5 of meetings right now, so I'm starting to buzz out. So it's been moved and seconded. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. That carries unanimously. Item 10.1, draft minutes of the Environment and Climate Action Committee held June 8th, 2023. Is there a presentation on this one, or is this just recommendation to allot from the community grants, Sustainable Community Grants Fund?
So there's the minutes of the meeting, as well as a manager of Parks Planning and Environment and Parks Planning put together a staff report with the recommendation.
Okay.
No presentation.
No presentation. Yeah. But she's here to answer questions in case there are any.
Yes.
Yeah, she's on.
Okay. Oh, great. I do. Councillor Fast.
Just that I'm on this committee and I was part of this discussion in a working group. And now I see that Carla is with us on Zoom, so she can explain it better than me. But we did have several meetings about this proposal to spend the funds that come to us from the province through this program. So I just pass it over to Carla. Sorry, I didn't really see you on there.
That's fine. I don't need to go through a presentation. It's we're pretty excited about both of these projects. I think they have a really great potential to increase food security on the island, and the committee is all supportive, and I'm just here to take questions if you have any.
Fantastic. Yes. And I do appreciate the work that's been done through committee and vetting this and doing the decision making. So I'll look to council to see if there's any other questions or comments. Councillor Morse.
The grants are to help fund. So have they got the other money?
No, but Thrive is, they're pretty good fundraisers. We've supported another project of theirs with just a portion of their funding, and they managed to raise the rest of it. And we did make it on the last round of CAREP grants, when we supported their project, we made it a condition of funding that they had to raise the rest of the funds, and we can certainly do that again.
Yeah, so that was basically my point. So if we don't write them the check until they've raised the other funds that they need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? The only question I have with respect to the abattoir grant is that the Thrive grant is a nonprofit, I believe. And Eric Miller from the works for Meadowbrook. Is this a project that the community would have access to, or what is are you able to detail the plans for the abattoir a bit more, or are we funding a private entity?
Well, I think that what his plan is to start a co-op with other local producers. I think that many different businesses can benefit indirectly. He would charge a fee for his services because he's the only one certified to do it. But I think that in and itself, it's not necessarily like it's a profitable business to run the abattoir. It's just given the limitations on how many animals they can slaughter. And they can only take animals from surrounding farms. I would compare it more to supporting something like a farmer's market. So it's providing infrastructure for small producers and farms to conduct their business and maybe encourages more local producers to raise animals on island. People who have land but maybe haven't been able to figure out how to transport them far away for slaughter. But I think that the whole community can benefit just with the availability of sustainably produced meats and just making those more affordable, and the implications for food security.
Right, thank you. That's helpful. Yeah, and I note that if I'm not mistaken, there's no facility like this between here and Chilliwack.
No, there's not.
And Mayor, I too had the same question initially, and going back to the applicant, that was where the idea for creating a co-op was generated to help ensure that it's a service that's accessible to as broad of a reach as possible, so that it's not funding just a private entity and a private enterprise.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Fast?
Yeah, just to add to that, we, the committee members had this question as well.
Okay.
The several points came up. One of them is that during COVID, the rules changed because people weren't encouraged to travel outside of their home neighborhood, and they couldn't take their animals out to Chilliwack necessarily. And there was a whole bunch of difficulties there, so the rules changed. So now Bowen could have an abattoir here, which might also help other food producers who, like you say, it's hard to find a vehicle that can take a whole bunch of chickens or larger animals that distance and that expense, as well as it's an animal welfare question too, about how far do you transport your animals without supplying drink for them, water and that kind of thing. So there's a bunch of issues there. We thought it might encourage more people to raise local food.
Okay, thank you. Is there a mover for the recommendation or an alternate recommendation? Yes.
I'd be happy to move that council allocate $2,000 to Eric Miller to help fund an abattoir and $2,000 to Thrive to help fund a supply and demand analysis platform to promote food to table food production from the Sustainable Community Grants Fund.
Moved by Councillor Fast, seconded by Councillor Saunders. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
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 Aye. And I have a second motion. It's just that council approve the 2023 Environment and Climate Action Committee work plan that's attached there.
Great. Seconded by Councillor Wake. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. And that carries unanimously. Item 10.2, draft minutes of the Community Grants Advisory Committee held July 17th, 2023. So this is their work and recommendation as to how to award the following community grants. So is there any discussion on this item, or would we like to move to a recommendation?
I was the council member at the meeting, so I could try and answer any questions if there are any. It was good discussion about all of the grants. And so I would move that council accept the recommendation of the Community Grants Advisory Committee and award the following community grants. Swim Bowen Society, $1,200. Bowen Island Community Festival Association, BowFest, $2,000. The Hearth Arts on Bowen, $2,500. Island Pacific School, $2,000. Bowen Island Seniors Keeping Young Society, $2,889. Bowen Island Resilient Community Housing Society, Birch, $6,000. Bowen Island Fast Pitch League, $6,000. Bowen Children's Center, Bowen Island Family Place, $9,500. Caring Circle and Health and Wellness Society, Bowen Island, $13,000. And there is no community grant recommended for Pacific Cultura Arts and Environment Society. I will note that we had, and that was a humongous ask as well. We had about
80,000.
I was going to say, I brought my report, $80,000 of requests for about $42,000 worth of budget.
Okay.
Yes, so they all have had merit and were good projects, and the one that we didn't award anything to, it's got good prospects, and we made some suggestions as to how they could possibly move the project forward for next year and working with the Arts Council.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Morse, seconded by Councillor Wake. Any discussion on the motion as read? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
And that carries unanimously. Moving on to item 11, new business. So 11.1, 11.2 are updates to Council on Metro Vancouver business and on TransLink Mayor's Council. Mayor's Council is meeting this week. The only meeting in the last 2 weeks was a closed meeting of the Planning and Priorities Committee. Metro Vancouver is also meeting this week, so there's a bunch of meetings happening right before everybody goes off in August. So I will be doing a regional parks tour on Wednesday with our regional parks committee, spending time with those folks. And then on Friday is a board meeting and a TransLink Mayor's Council meeting on Thursday. Just a couple of other pieces that I will take some time to update on. I did mention that Vancouver, so I will be meeting with the BC Ferries CEO next Friday. So I'll be circulating an email to council as well as staff just to consolidate any of our asks and talking points and pieces that we'd like to see that have come up in the last little while. We know that the service is challenging and it is putting a strain on our residents. So I'd like to get really clear and concise on what we can do. This, I think it's a big deal for the CEO to come here on a Friday afternoon and spend a few hours with us. So I'd just like to maximize his time. Also next Saturday, Langley City Mayor Nathan Pahal and Councillor Albrecht will be coming to visit Bowen Island. So I'll be taking them around. If there's any other councillors that want to join or have lunch on the Saturday afternoon, we can talk to those folks. Mayor Pahal is very nice mayor, seems to be doing a great job in Langley, a huge advocate of transit. So he's a very pro-transit mayor and interested in active transportation and transit. I'm sure we'll connect on a few of those pieces, being opposite ends of the region. I did have a call with, so mayors and chairs in the province were invited to a call with Bowen Ma, the Minister of Emergencies. What's the full title of that ministry?
Emergency management.
Yeah, emergency management. I feel like there's
Climate change.
Yeah, that's it, climate readiness. And the presentation was sobering of what we're looking at this summer. So currently, even though it doesn't feel like it today, we're experiencing drought regions. It's drier now than it was in September of last year after all of the heat. So there's going to be implications, I think, all across the province for fire, water, drought. And it was a meeting where I felt very well supported by the minister, but it was also, you know, felt like a call to readiness almost, and that we do need to be diligent in all things. So I'm curious to see what comes out of that ministry as well as the summer unfolds, because I can't imagine we're going to be seeing too much more rain between now and the fall.
One follow-up on that, they have written letters, the province has, to all the water license holders, asking them to conserve water. So not only the one, like, we got that for all the mowing systems, but all the private license holders have also had the same letters.
And I believe we sent that out. I saw it both go to, I think, by email and social media about voluntary conservation of water. And I know that we've, the CAO and our director of engineering has, you know, upped some of the water conservation statuses in the area. And that's all the updates I have. Any questions before we look to our island's trustees? Councilor Fox?
When is Mayor Paschal coming? Saturday?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Okay, thank you.
So it's in August, not July.
That is, let me check my calendar here. It's pretty, yes, so Saturday the 5th.
Oh, okay. I'll be away. Say hello from.
Saturday the 5th will be Mayor Pahal, and then Friday the 4th will be the BCF CEO. And then on the, I'm glad that I actually looked at my calendar. So Metro Vancouver, as every resident probably knows now from the cards that they got in their mailbox, are beginning to hold their round 2 of engagement with the community on the island. And the first open house is next Saturday
This Saturday, July 29th.
This Saturday. I was going to say July 29th, but yes, this Saturday will be a Metro Vancouver open house at Kate's Hill Chapel from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they have one in the evening on August 2nd from 4 to 7 p.m. Also at Kate's Hill Chapel. So for folks who are paying attention and do want to attend, if you attended last time, it's not at Mix, it'll be at Kate's Hill Chapel. And we'll be very curious to see the outcomes of those open houses. Any other questions? Yes.
A curiosity question. If people have no junk mail on their mailbox, I think the post office usually delivers municipal notices, but will they deliver those metro notices?
I didn't get one, and I have one of those no junk. So,
right.
I didn't get one.
I don't think they did.
Is that something we could have reshared on social media from Metro Vancouver? Because I know they're making social media postings.
So that's quite a move, having this meeting in a church, given what might be said.
It'll be an interesting couple of weeks because I'll be with those folks for the next 4 days out of this week, from Wednesday to Saturday. Any other questions about Metro Vancouver, TransLink, Mayor's business generally? Councilor Wake?
Just a point of information, I went on a tour of the CBus facilities that was offered by TransLink. Very interesting, and my purpose in going was to see and try to understand what the possibilities were for landing a water taxi or the Green Line passenger ferry there. Because I understood from Callum that they had talked to them and it looked like it was all going to work out. Actually, that's not the case, as far as I can tell. It's a very complicated mix. I like physically it's possible, but the CBus terminal is actually, the location is under the jurisdiction of the Port of Vancouver. The CBus itself is run by West Coast. And then TransLink, contracts out, I guess. So basically there's 3 different parties there. And apparently there are some areas of conflict need to be resolved before any kind of decision on that can be made. And the person that found out the information for me, Aaron, who has led the tour, he was very cooperative, but he was pretty apologetic, saying, I said I would find out who you could talk to and what the answer would be, but it looks like it's going to be a thorny issue.
Right.
So is that the downtown terminal or the North Van terminal?
That's the downtown one.
Yeah, because part of the issue with the downtown terminal is you're landing into a fare paid zone. Is my understanding. That's been one of the issues in the past. And TransLink did advertise a number of years ago for proposals from people to use that dock. So the other side is Transport Canada and Port of Vancouver marine security issues because it's so close to the other Canada Place terminal.
Right.
Yeah. So that's.
Yeah, there are a couple of docks there on the Vancouver side, on the west side.
Yeah.
Just small docks that would certainly work for a lot of taxis, but
Might be too big, his boat. His boat might be too big.
his boat would be too big, and I understand those are for emergency services and port, some other port functions, so I'm not sure that, they weren't sure. Anyway, just a heads up, just rosy.
Multi-jurisdictional issues abound, right? Any other pieces on Metro Vancouver TransLink? I'll turn it over to our island's trustees for an update.
Nothing much has been happening, although we've got a governance committee meeting a week today, and I've been working on the agenda. We've got a visioning exercise planned for September for the Trust Council, when we all get together and Pender. Got to figure out how to get to Pender, but we'll carpool or something. So
Yes.
we're still in the process, the beginning stages of that, trying to figure out a corporate and strategic plan for the trust. And we're hoping that if council can get that better organized, then we're going to be in a better position to move the overall policy statement, which has been a struggle and very difficult. So it's moving. It's hard to get 26 people together 4 times a year and get a whole lot accomplished, but it's 2 days of packed meetings, and the governance committee is still working hard and doing some reasonably good work. So keep it in the right direction.
Any questions for the trustees?
Not really all trustees, but adult senior's brain here. May I bring up one more thing?
Sure.
To do with, I went to that harm reduction session we all got invited to a couple of months ago, and discovered that there is still a committee called the North Shore Substance Use Committee. It's made up of representatives of all the municipalities. And I was on it originally when it first got started. And so I volunteered to go to their meeting. And so I probably need you guys to appoint me as a delegate, or if somebody else wants to go. They're meeting sort of monthly. At this point, the major topic is trying to raise awareness about the opioid crisis and people that it's not just the downtown east side, it's people dying in the streets in their homes, in their private homes is a significant issue.
Are they meeting between now and September?
Yes.
Okay.
No. There is a meeting planned for September, the after September meeting.
Okay, so can we put that on the agenda, Sophie?
Yeah.
That's a great initiative. Thank you for participating in that.
Yeah.
Any other pieces of new business? Only other information item is just we are going to be on break for a month. Enjoy the summer. When we come back, I know, are there any comments from staff about what we're picking up when we come back, or comments that you'd like to make, or things that you need from us before we depart to all 8 corners of the island?
Well, thank you, Mayor. A couple of things I would just like to impart. One is, enjoy the break and use it to the best of your ability to recharge and
Steph's organizing a bunch of committees.
Yeah. There's a lot
What
of,
break is that?
there's a lot of committee work and
There's all those referrals we did.
And I probably will be reaching out, or Sophie will be reaching out to schedule a meeting with all of you before UBCM convention. So we come back together on September 11th for a regular council meeting. And then UBCM convention starts the following Sunday. But we'll want to find some time together before that. So,
Choreograph.
yeah, to choreograph and strategize our time at convention in Vancouver.
Is everybody going to convention?
Yes.
Yeah, 7 of us or,
Yes.
okay, and is everybody going down on Sunday or going down on Monday?
I'm
going Sunday.
Can't remember when I'm.
I'll go Monday.
I'm going.
Move to adjourn.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All right.